Hi, my name is Libby Benson, and this is my Psychology is Weird project about pain perception. In particular, is pain perception universal, or is our data mostly based on weird samples? That is, people from Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic societies. In this presentation, I'll focus on the Western part of weird and compare Western and non-Western groups from the same pain study. Pain is defined as a distressing feeling in both the body and emotions that's linked to actual or potential harm to the body, or something that resembles it, as described by Raja and her colleagues in 2020. Pain perception, on the other hand, is how the brain feels and makes sense of those pain signals, combining what the body senses with our thoughts and emotions, according to Wegener and Jacobs' work. Different cultures teach people different norms about how much they should show or report pain. For example, two people might both stub a toe, but one laughs it off and one cries. They're getting similar signals because they both stubbed a toe, but their pain perception and other cultural norms differ. So, what I'm looking into is pain perception experienced the same way across cultures, or is our understanding of it weird? For my weird findings, I'm using the European participants from Gary and colleagues' 2025 study on the cold pressor test. This included 55 adults of mixed gender from Denmark, Spain, and Hungary, all of which are Western countries and are therefore weird. In the cold pressor test, people put a hand in 2 degrees Celsius, so around 35.6 degrees Fahrenheit, water. The researchers measured both pain ratings and how long participants kept their hand in the water. If someone made it to the end of the trial, their time was recorded as 120 seconds. In the European group, participants lasted an average of 116 seconds, and only about 9% pulled their hand out before the end of the trial. Gary and colleagues interpreted this as showing fairly high and consistent tolerance for cold pain in these European participants, and they argued that the cold pressor test is a reliable way to measure pain tolerance in weird samples. For my non-weird findings, I'm using the Indian and Pakistani participants from the same Gary and colleagues study. This group included 39 adults of mixed gender who were from non-Western countries. The method was the same. The cold pressor test with a hand in 2 degrees Celsius water, measuring pain ratings and how long they kept their hand in before pulling it out, again with a maximum of 120 seconds. In this non-weird group, participants lasted around 93 seconds on average, and about 43% took their hand out in under 2 minutes. The researchers explained these results as evidence that pain tolerance in the same test can differ across locations geographically. They suggested that factors like culture, expectations, or local context may shape how people experience and respond to pain, even when the procedure is the same, which it was since these were both conducted in the same study. When I compare the two groups, both of them experienced the cold water as painful. However, the weird group tolerated it for longer and quit less often, while the non-weird group stopped sooner and more often. Because the method was the same in both studies, these differences are more likely tied to who is being studied, which is the independent variable, including cultural norms and context rather than the test itself. This shows why psychology is weird. If we only studied the European participants, we might think this higher pain tolerance is normal for everyone, and that could give us a biased picture of human pain perception, since, as we can tell from this study, that isn't consistent across all people from all different locations. Here are all of the references that I used when creating this project, and thank you for listening.